When the only people that are coming to your party are contract killers and hitmen, then you know that you are in trouble. Hello everybody, welcome back to another review of J. Mare. And this time I'm gonna review a movie what I think is an underrated movie. And it is something that I want to do every month. Just talk about some older movie, a movie that is released some years ago, and I want to talk about more in depth, and I believe is underrated, underappreciated, or overlooked. And for this month, March 2024, I have chosen an action movie from 2006, written and directed by Joe Carnahan, and it is Smokin Aces. Yes, I really love this movie. I have seen this movie so many times now, and I'm so entertained by this movie. And the movie is it's from 2006, and maybe when it was released in that year, there was some audience for it. It was maybe a popular movie. I don't know. I was still too young to remember that. But I feel like the movie now is a bit of forgotten. I saw it also when I was younger, but not in the theaters, I at home, and I was actually very surprised by how entertaining and cool this movie was, because I really believe this is a cool action movie, but maybe also a forgotten action movie. So let's talk about Smokin Aces. Like I said, it's written and directed by Joe Carnahan, and it is not really a famous director. Maybe some people know who Joe Carnahan is, know his filmography, but to the bigger audience, I'm not sure if Joe Carnahan is a well-known name. But I really like Joe Carnahan. I really like his filmography for the most part, some really cool movies, with Smokin Aces including, and people often call Smokin Aces a bit like a Guy Ritchie film that is not directed by Guy Ritchie. And I agree. I see why people are saying that. And for me, Joe Carnahan is definitely in that same category of directors like Guy Ritchie or Quentin Tarantino. He's really in that group of directors. Directors that just make cool movies with a very interesting style of telling a story. And especially in the first 20 minutes of this movie, you can really tell the Guy Ritchie influence in this film, but I don't mind it. And also, this movie has a big ensemble cast. Joe Carnahan casted actors like Ryan Reynolds, Ben Affleck, the late Ray Liotta, but also Andy Garcia is in this movie, Alicia Keys, so many others. Really big cast. There are plenty of other actors I do not mention but are in this movie, like Jason Bateman is in this movie as well. So a great cast. But what I really admire on Smokin Aces is the whole premise of this movie. So what is the movie about? Smokin Aces is like this action gangster movie, and it's about the mob, and we have our character Buddy Aces. And Aces, our character, he is a Las Vegas entertainer, and he has he started to become friends with some gangsters, and he is really connected to them. But then the cops arrest him for something, so Buddy Aces becomes our informant. And that is not to the likings of our gangsters, so they want to get rid of him. And they hire all kinds of hitmen and contract killers to get to Buddy, who is hiding in a penthouse somewhere in Lake Tahoe. That's the movie, and I really love this premise. We have this whole bunch of characters, all different characters of contract killers and hitmen, that are all coming together at this one place, at this hotel, to get to this guy, and there is a lot of action as a result of that, and I really love this premise. I'm gonna talk about the characters a bit later, but what I really like about this movie is the directing style. I did a rewatch recently, and I really noticed how well directed this movie is. there is some really smooth camera work. When there's action scenes, there are a lot of cuts. The action scenes go a lot faster, but when there is no action, there are not so many cuts, and the camera moves through the location, through the characters, which is very smooth and it's very nice to see. So that results in some really impressive long takes. So I really admire the camera work of this movie. It's also very well edited because some transitions from the one scene at this specific location to another scene at a complete different location is also very smooth. There are really cool and very original transitions of the scenes. And this results that this movie is actually a very well paced movie. It's almost 2 hours, but it goes very quickly, and you're all still entertained. Also, the action scenes, because it's still an action movie, are actually very impressive. There are some cool action scenes, a lot of guns fire, some blood is also in this movie, so the action scenes are also top notch. So great premise, great directed, great edited, and the action scenes deliver. But there are also some flaws in this movie. Like, this movie also has a bigger storyline going on with the cops and the mob, and I think that story is a bit too much, too big for the movie they actually are giving us. So it took some watches for me to really understand what the intentions were with that plot line. And sometimes it feels a bit unneeded compared to the other elements of this movie. Because the heart of this movie is all these interesting killer characters coming together for some action scenes. So the whole other cop storyline is a bit too big for this movie, in my opinion. But the biggest flaw for me is this one character. It's a kid. This really messed up kung fu karate kid. It's just a really weird character, and I don't know what was the point of this character. This character is so out of place that I didn't like it. If he was not in the movie would have been much better. It's just a weird thing in this movie. So those are a bit my flaws of the movie. Otherwise, I think it's a great movie. And what makes this movie great for me, like I said, the characters. This movie has a lot of characters, and all these characters, or at least most of these characters, are so interesting. Yes, some people say, or it's a criticism of this movie, that there are too many characters, and the characters, we don't know much about them to really appreciate them. But I think we don't really need to know much more than what is given to us in this movie. We know exactly enough about these characters to like them, to think they are cool, because I really think these are cool characters and they really fulfill their purpose in this movie. We don't need their whole childhood or background or relationships they have. No, that's not the point of these characters. These characters are killers, and we just want to know what kind of killers they are, what their work methods are, and how they fit in this movie. And I think these characters are cool enough for this kind of movie. And obviously there are a lot of hitmen and killers, but we also have our cops. These are actually the important characters, and that are Ryan Reynolds and Ray Liotta. I think both actors do a phenomenal job in this movie. I really believe them, and they really carry this movie. They put it in certain directions. They do all the things to go to a certain point in the movie, and they are actually interesting characters. Also, my favorite character in this movie is actually Jack Dupree. And Jack Dupree is a bounce man, someone who takes care of the bail for criminals, and he's played by Ben Affleck. And his scenes in this movie are usually my favorite scenes. I really like this character. He is just a dry character, he's very serious, he has not a lot of facial expressions, and basically he explains the things that needs to happen, or what is going to happen, or which characters are going to expect. But I really love him, this character. He is just so cool, and Ben Affleck plays him perfectly, and it's just his way or his charisma that he has, his attitude. It's something on this character that makes me really like this character. And and then obviously there are some killers. We have our female hitmen. Um, these are actually very nice characters. We see them a lot in this movie. We also have a guy named Laszlo Sood, who is a bit of a chameleon. He really transforms into other people. Interesting character. Another character that I really like was Acosta, also an interesting character. He's a bit of the torturer of the bunch, and he's played by lost actor Nestor Carbonell. And there is also another Lost character in this movie, Matthew Fox, who plays Jack in Lost. I really love Lost. Lost is one of my favorite shows. It's also a show that is not much being talked about nowadays. Still a great show. And I really love this scene. There's one scene where the two actors from Lost are playing together, and that was just a really cool scene. It's just this point the killer is into the hotel. He is pretending that he's a cop, and he wants to talk with the head of security, who is played by Matthew Fox. And this dialogue scene is so interesting, and the way the scene ends is also very cool. I don't know, the scene is really cool in its own way, so that's also very interesting to see. And but the standout of the killer characters are the Tremors. And the Tremors are three half brothers, and they are crazy. They are absolutely on the next level of crazy. These are so crazy that it's entertaining. And this is easily the most entertaining part of the movie. These Tremors. You really like to see them in this movie. And then obviously we have our character Buddy Aces and his crew in the penthouse. And to be honest, the title character is actually the least interesting character of the bunch. But he still has his purpose, he fulfills his purpose. And the great thing about this movie is when all these different characters interact with each other, come together. And that is what makes this movie so entertaining. And it's also very well structured. In the beginning, we see all these characters for the first time, how they get to know about Buddy Aces and his bounty that is on his head. And then we see them all in different ways preparing their own plan. And then lastly, in the third act, we see it all come together for some explosive action. And that is just why I love this movie. It has cool characters, some cool action scenes, and it's very smoothly directed by Joe Carnahan. This is one of the movies that I absolutely love to rewatch from time to time. I love Smokin Aces. So, these were my thoughts on the movie Smokin Aces, my review of this month's underrated movie. I hope you like it. Let me know if you have seen Smokin Aces and if you may be interested in checking it out. And if you have seen the movie already, let me know what are your thoughts on Smokin Aces. Let me know below in the comments. And if you want to see more reviews of me in the future, always be free to subscribe to my channel. And till the next time.